How many of us here use WhatsApp? WhatsApp. Cool. And how many of us are married and love our wife? Okay, cool. So, mota if we see, we all are part of around 10 WhatsApp groups. And if we categorize them, then we can categorize them in 3 different groups. One being family wala group, 2 being friends wala group, and 3 being wife's family wala group. Now on friends wala group you interact. You do some forward messages and all that. That's what you do. On family wala group, you read the messages and choose to ignore some. And on wife's family wala group, the only thing that you do is to put it on mute. Not because you don't love to interact with her relatives, you do love them, right? But you are afraid of that फूफा जी जो बुरा मान जाते हैं. हम सभी के व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप में एक बुरा मानने वाले फूफा जी तो होते ही हैं, जो ना जाने कोई भी बात हो बुरा जरूर मानते हैं. And we are afraid of them, right? So, no matter where you go, whatever relatives you meet of your wives, they always crib about this फूफा जी. बताइए, हमारी बहन की शादी थी और फूफा जी बुरा मान के बैठ गए. मिलनी पे जब बुलाया कि आ जाइए तो कहने लगे कि हमसे किसी ने खाना नहीं पूछा. अरे भाई, मिलनी के पहले खाना कौन पूछता है? That's what you hear. And then what do? You just have to hear that, right? The moment this फूफा जी dies, एकदम मातम छा जाता है व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप पे. The group icon gets changed to his photograph with RIP Fufa ji written right across him. The group title gets changed to Miss You Fufa ji. And then there are a lot of stories about Fufa ji on the group. For example, आज फूफा जी की बड़ी याद आ रही है. याद है आज भी, बहन की शादी में मिलनी से लेकर डोली तक इन्होंने खाना नहीं खाया था, एक टांग पे खड़े होकर काम कराया था. WhatsApp, no matter, is an integral part of our life. Now, I would like to ask you, do you know who are the inventors of WhatsApp? Do you know their names? No? I'll tell you. Gyan, and Brian Acton are founders of WhatsApp. Com holds around 45% of the stake and belonged to a small village which was located near Kyiv in Ukraine, which was at that point in time occupied by Soviets. Com lived a life of hardships. His mother was a housewife and his father was a construction worker. He got a chance at the age of 16 to migrate to US along with his mother. The plan was that even the father would go, but then he fell ill and later died in Ukraine. During the end days of his father, Com wanted to speak to his father, but he couldn't do so because of the fear of the phone calls being tapped by the Soviets. And this urge led him to invent WhatsApp after 2 decades. Interesting? Right. But what's even more interesting is that now, going forward, you will always remember their names because this small little simple story won't let you forget them. That's not something new. That's how our brain works. Remember when we were really young and we were introduced to these concepts of planets? It was so alien to us. We never remembered them in one particular order: Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars. We always forget about them. Then a sweet, cute-looking teacher came forward and gave us one story. And that story was, my very elegant mother just showed us 9 planets. And thereon, we always remembered them in one particular order. That's how our brain is wired. We think in form of stories. We process information when it is given to us in a form of a mesh. We don't remember isolated pieces of information. For example, you won't remember who was the 9th Prime Minister of India or 5th President of India or distance between Sun and Earth or When was the Battle of Plassey fought? But you will always remember those stories which were taught to us when we were like really young. The story of Little Red Riding Hood, the story of the nursery rhymes, the story of Thirsty Crow. You remember these stories, but you don't remember the isolated pieces of information. Now, what's a story? A story is nothing but a connected series of events which has a beginning, a middle, and an end. It takes your audience into a journey which makes them feel different, which makes them feel transformed. Now, through this small video, I would like to show how that happens. So, I would request if someone can play the video.
What did you do to my sign?
I wrote the same, but in different words.
Thanks, love.
So you got it? The beggar was stating the obvious. The beggar was stating a fact that I am blind. It just aroused sympathy into the audience. But why will I pay you if I am feeling sad about you? I won't. The moment this girl walked in, she created a story around the fact. She said, it's a beautiful day outside and I am the one who can't say it. The moment she did this, she changed that sympathy to empathy. The moment she did this, she got the audience into the shoes of beggar. And it made them think that it's such a beautiful day and this poor fellow can't see. And that's what made them feel bad for him, and they started giving money to him. That's what a story does. It transforms you. Now, stories are all around us. In fact, they have been around us for past 40,000 years. Researchers have proven that 65% of our conversation is nothing but stories. Remember the gossips we do? They are all stories. Now, the moment you can use these 65% to your advantage, that's when you will start making change. You will start convincing people, influencing people, motivating them to do your work. Stories are around us. It's in Bollywood, it's in politics, it's in marketing, entrepreneur stories, so on and so forth. So let's take a few examples. Stories in Bollywood. You remember back in 2000, whatever movie came, they all had various shots of Europe, Switzerland of the world and all. Why? Because at that point in time, filmmakers believed that the audience wanted to get addressed to such exotic locations. They wanted to see such exotic locations. That's why no matter whether it was a requirement of plot or not, these locations came into picture. Kal Ho Na Ho, Cocktail, Kabhi Alvida Na Kehna, they all had these locations. But the trend has changed. Now the filmmakers have realized that they need to create stories from small towns. What about the latest movies from the three Khans? They all were from small towns. What about Jolly LLB 2? What about Badrinath Ki Dulhania? They all are from small towns because filmmakers have realized that the vast amount of their audience is people like you and me who belong to Kanpur, Baroda, Nagpur, Nasik, etc. And hence when they come up with such stories, it resonates well with the audience and they start falling in love with it, talking about it and so on. What about marketing? Day in and day out, brands are telling us stories. Brands are telling us stories, not because they love to do that, but because they know that we love to fall in love with stories. Right? Example, this in 2013, the Google reunion ad which came. It was a wonderful example of storytelling. It showed how Google facilitated the reunion of two friends, one who were separated in Indo-Pak war. Right? So that's what stories do. Have you heard of Your Story? Shraddha Sharma? Shraddha was a journalist before she turned into an entrepreneur, and she took interviews of various entrepreneurs. But in those interviews, she never stressed upon facts and figures. She talked about stories. It made her realize that entrepreneurs love to talk about their stories. And she formed a platform where they can share their stories. Now today, that platform hosts around 12,000 plus stories of such entrepreneurs. I have realized that an organization is as strong as the story of its founder. Steve Jobs built the world's most valuable brand, Apple. And it's primarily because of such a strong story that Steve Jobs had. All these entrepreneurs have a strong brand, be it Facebook, Alibaba, Google, Tesla, Amazon. They all are strong brands, and these all entrepreneurs have a strong story to back them. Stories can also help us win people. And I would like to tell you a funny story about it. So once upon a time, in a land far away, there was a king and a salesman. The salesman had a product which everyone loved in the kingdom, but the evil king really hated it. The evil king said in a gathering that I am going to kill this product. This is ruining my kingdom. In that gathering, it so happened that the salesman was there. He was brave. So he shouted from the back, "Oh, my dear king, you can't do that. This is a product which is wonderful. It is not ruining your kingdom, and I can prove it." The king got angry and said, "Okay, then come tomorrow and prove it to me." The next day, after doing a lot of hard work, after preparing tons and tons of slides, the salesman went ahead and addressed the king. "So king, I am here to prove that my product is right and you should not kill it." The king was merciful. He said, "Okay, prove it to me." And that's when the salesman started digging through his slides. The first slide which he brought up was company profile. Then he brought up market trends. Then he brought up other market trends. Then he brought up some case studies. Then he brought up some analyst quotes. On the 47th slide, he opened up a return of investment spreadsheet. That's when the king lost it. He said, "Enough, you fool. Earlier I was going to kill your product, but now I will kill you too." Funny, because it wasn't making any sense to the king. The data which he was talking about was his data. He had mined that data. It made no sense to the king. Customers are our king today, and we should appreciate the fact that they won't believe in the data which we talk about. They will believe in the stories that we talk about. We can win people through stories. In our workplace, anywhere we go, we can do that. And the biggest place to win your audience is in your interviews. Now, in your interview, the first question and the most important question that is asked is, "Tell me something about yourself." And believe me, 99% of us fail there. Because we know everything about everything, but we just don't know anything about our own self. Because we have never sat down and thought enough. We have never sat down and created stories around it. Now, for example, instead of going in an interview and telling, "I am Sankalp Kohli, I am from Kanpur, I got 86% in 10th, 92% in 12th, I can say these same facts with some emotions in such a form. "Dear sir, I am Sankalp Kohli, I come from a middle class family from a non-metro city of Kanpur. Throughout my life, my father has taught me that hard work pays. And if you can see academically, I have shown the results, I have worked hard. And if you can see, I topped my class 12th and 10th. What did I do? I just created some stories around some facts. Now, what did it imply? Out of the three, almost 3 of them will be middle class. out of the 3, at least 2 of them will be from a non-metro city. And the moment you say these things, you create a connect between your heart and his heart. He is also thinking at that point in time, what were the hardships back in Baroda and how did I overcome them and landed in Bank of America job, right? So that's what stories can do. They can help you win the interviewer. And in order to do so, I have devised a technique, and that technique is 3-circle model. What I tell my audience is that instead of just reading your CV and going in an interview, just create that CV, just read that CV and create a pick out of it, because you only remember 10% of the text you read and you remember 65% of the pick you see. So what you have to do, you have to just go about writing your strong points in these 3 circles: education, experience, and extracurricular. What will you do then? These strong points will be what you will remember in your interview. And when you go there, you just have to build stories around these strong points. And no matter what he asks, why do you want to come here, why MBA, why engineering, what salary expectations do you have, everything will have stories around these strong points. And that's what will help you get the job. Now to summarize my whole talk, I have a very beautiful video to show. Just see the subtitles towards the end.
Embarqué dans un camion de livraison, et puis j'atterris ici. Oh, c'est incroyable. Hein? T'entends ça, chérie?
Ben oui, c'est fou.
To end the talk, I would just like to say a Jewish saying, which is, what's truer than the truth? A story. I hope my stories today will inspire you to tell yours. Thank you.